Okay, hello, ladies. So it is my honor to bring today Megan Stewart. She is the CEO and founder of a fantastic nonprofit organization called PCOS Awareness Association. She's also just frankly a badass female with a lot of fantastic credentials behind her name. And so we are so fortunate to be able to talk to her today about PCOS and why she created this organization and frankly, the women she serves, and she's been doing it for a while, so she has a lot of street cred behind this. So thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited. And that whole badass thing, I love it because my team says my tenacity is what gets me going, right? So I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you created this organization for the sole purpose of serving women with PCOS, which is a very specific condition. So you have to have a passion behind it and you have to be driven, right, to do this. So we're so fortunate to have, as a PCOS woman, to have you in our corner. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see, where do I begin? I was born in Boston, raised in Seattle, Washington on a little farm, grew up riding horses, playing basketball. I was a very active, just little kid. My parents always had me out there, camping and bike riding and horseback riding and just very active. Around the age of 9, actually, I started showing symptoms of, at the time, we weren't sure what, right? I started gaining weight, started growing hair on my face, losing hair on my head. Actually, so at the age of 8, I had to have jumped up it was like 8 or 9. I had to have jumped up a good 30, 40 pounds for my mom to be like, what is going on? There's something going on. And she kept taking me from doctor to doctor between the ages of 9 and 16. I had seen, I don't know how many specialists. And at one point, one doctor told her, it's just puberty, give it some time. Another doctor told her she needs to lose some weight. Another doctor told her, okay, lose the weight and this will go away. One doctor even told her it was in my head and I was just faking things just to get out of school, which I might have been, but but I wasn't faking the symptoms, right? And so she was just like, my mom's my largest advocate and I love her for it. And I actually a couple of years ago during our first PCOS Con event, I learned something about that time that she had not shared until just recently with me, is that she actually, when the doctor had told her that it was in my head, she was like, okay, I'm going to do a test. So she actually gave me placebo pills and she was like, let's find out. And she said it was the craziest thing because for a good maybe week, I kept telling her like, this is great. All my symptoms are going to go away. And I was just in euphoria, right? It was like, I was a whole nother person. No depression, no anxiety. I just had this crazy outlook on life that this pill that she gave me that she told me was going to cure me was doing its job. And then she said about 2 weeks after, it was like night and day that I was back in pain even more. I was complaining about exhaustion, fatigue, just not anywhere near, I was worse than what I was prior. So at that point, she was like, no, there's something else wrong. And again, the weight gain was just ridiculous. She couldn't figure out, at one point we did Weight Watchers and I don't know if you remember, but back in the day with Weight Watchers, they used to have like these weekly meetings that you showed up to and you literally had to weigh in, and you weighed in, and then in the class they were like, yay, so and so what lost X amount of pounds. And we did it for about 2 months. And I remember going to that meeting, and mind you, I'm young. So my mom was making all of my meals and I had she was like the one pushing me to go outside and go get more activity and whatnot. And in this meeting, they got around to her and it was like, yay, Doreen lost 10 pounds in 2 months. Then they got to me and it was like, yay, Megan lost 0.2 pounds in 2 months. That was so heartbreaking, right? Like,
Especially as a teenager.
right? Exactly. And it was just like, how can my mom lose this much weight and we're on the exact same diet, doing the exact same things? And it was just heartbreaking. And at that point, she really started pushing for different specialists. She had me see like naturopath doctors, just all dietitians all over the place. And finally, the age of 16, we found an OBGYN in Seattle, and she formally diagnosed me with PCOS. The caveat was that it wasn't just PCOS at that point, it was cervical cancer. So at the age of 16, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And I just remember, like, I don't really remember anything being told to me about PCOS at that time. I just remember her kind of saying, well, just you're young. When it's time for you to conceive, let's talk about PCOS. I do remember them putting me on birth control pills. It was the main focus, of course, was the cervical cancer. So fast forward to age of like 22. It's like 22, 23, something like that. And I was at the time, back in the day, I think I'm dating myself, but back in the day, you if you weren't in college, you were kicked off of your parents' medical plan, insurance, health insurance. So I was 22, was not on their health insurance, but I was working as a contractor, and didn't have health insurance. And I went to work and had this massive pain in my pelvic area. And I just could not figure out, like, even my coworkers were like, you just look like the life was drained out of you. And I was like, oh boy. So after literally being like keeled over in pain, the ambulance was called. I was rushed to the ER, where they told me, hey, you had a cyst rupture on your ovaries. Have you ever been told about PCOS? And I was like, yeah, I was diagnosed with that, but that was it. And they were like, well, your cyst ruptured, so there's nothing we can do for you. Like, they put me on a bag of fluids and called it good. And they were like, okay, bye. So I just remember my mom showing up to the ER and us walking out, and she said to me, uh-oh, I see it behind your eyes. What's going on? Like, what are you about to do? She got worried, right? She was like, what's happening? What are you doing? And I was just so annoyed with the simple fact that how can you be in so much pain and just be told that there's nothing that can be done? So at that point, I went out to good old Dr. Google and started Googling all sorts of stuff about PCOS. And at the time, there was maybe one like chat room, a forum online. And then I remember I found a lot of answers on Craigslist. So Craigslist has that area where it's like, right? It's like a message board, and people
Yeah.
were in the message board, and they were like, what's PCOS? I've been diagnosed, but I don't know what it is. And I just remember thinking, I can't be the only person out here trying to find these answers, right? So as you stated, earlier, that like I've done this to help so many people, but in all actuality, I was very selfish in starting this because I needed it myself. So, I'm very close with my family, and my friends, and I started like, they were asking me all the time, like, what happened? What's going on? Is you having cancer issues again? And then I would be like, no, PCOS. And they'd be like, well, what's that? Like, I have never heard of this before. And so what I had found out that the official color was teal. And so what I started doing is I started making these handmade bracelets and kind of handing them out to my friends and family and saying, I can't be the only one. I think at the time I had found out the numbers were 1 in 10, like 10 women out here, 10 women, every 10 women that has PCOS. This is common. Here's what it is. Here's a bracelet. Use it as a talking point so that if anybody ever asks you what this teal bracelet is, you are able to then turn around and tell them. So I had a cousin who posted it on, I think it was Facebook at the time. And this is like when Facebook was new. And she, next thing I know, she tagged me in the post. And next thing I knew, I had people from all over the world contacting me, asking me, hey, I've been diagnosed with PCOS. I've never seen anybody else out here with a bracelet. How do I get one? And I was like, oh, I'm not the only one, right? I'm not alone. So I started then, and again, another light bulb went off in my head, and it was like, okay, if I'm not the only one, and there's other people searching for answers, not just answers, but resources and support on PCOS, like this needs to be made. Something needs to be made. So I started taking, and instead of just giving away the bracelets, I started selling them. So I took the funds and I started 501c3 PCOS AA, PCOS Awareness Association, full name. And that was 9 years ago. And it's just been amazing since then. Like the people that I've met, the people that we have helped, the people that, we touch every day, like I feel like there's a connection, right? There's that distant connection that I have with everybody that we are involved with. And I just, it's a blessing and I love it. So there's the PCOS AA story.
I know. Well, we often start things based upon our own personal experience. I mean, that's the reason why I started going down the naturopathic journey with PCOS for myself, because I was off of a birth control pill and I decided that I kind of still had these horrible symptoms, but I didn't want to be on a birth control pill. I was, I had issues with fertility and I couldn't get pregnant. And same thing I was told, I mean, weirdly enough, I'm a doctor, but I was told by REI doctors, reproductive doctors, like, it'll work. And I'm like, it can't possibly, there's gotta be something missing. Like I'm relatively in shape. I mean, I got crazy cycles, but like, it can't be this hard. Like there's gotta be something wrong with me that's different, and didn't realize until I had actually changed my diet, spent time thinking about sleep at night and stress and all the other stuff. Until I started taking my own courses, nutrition courses, and taking integrative medicine classes, like I didn't know, and I'm a doctor. Yeah. So I can only imagine, as I've talked to clients through my coaching business, like it's hard to find that information if the person that you turn to doesn't know. And I don't blame doctors. They don't get the education. I didn't get the nutrition education that I should have. So I didn't know the answer, and neither did the people that I went to go see as well. So I think a lot of us start those journeys because it's our own personal experience that we have to know the answer. Like, yeah. What is it,
So let me ask you, because I've heard a couple of different things. Like, how long was the training? Like in your medical profession, in school, what was the training? Like I've had multiple answers on that.
I mean, I would doubt it was more than a month. Out of my, med school's 4 years, residency's 4 years. You definitely don't do it in residency, but in med school, maybe a month. But it's not about, it's mostly to me, the medical system is broken in that we want a pill for every ill. We want to fix the problem. We want to address the illness, but we don't spend a lot of time on prevention. We don't spend a lot of time on when 80% of diseases can be prevented by diet and lifestyle changes. That's a big problem, but it's not the way that the medical system is set up, and definitely not the way the pharmaceutical system is set up. It's not, it's not in their interest for us to prevent diabetes. Right. So I think it's, I hope my goal in life is to change that from the face of medicine, to change it to bring more physicians that are aware of nutrition, to change the way that we treat patients. But it's a small steps, as you know from, I'm sure, setting up this fantastic organization. You just have to do a little bit, chisel a little bit, and just keep going. And hopefully you kind of show people a little bit more that they didn't know. And, we all do it together. I'm a big fan of women helping women. I am like, that's a big thing. That's why I bring female entrepreneurs on here. It's all about us helping other women.
100%. So during the first PCOS Con, like I wanted to have the statement, the very last statement of the night was, together we can, ... and have people fill in that statement. Together we can defeat this. Together we can come up with answers. Together we can, support each other. That just however you feel about PCOS, start it with together we can. And that is 100% like how I feel. It's like no one person can take this on.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the PCOS Con, will you tell us about your event? Because I think that's a great resource for women, and also just to understand what you do offer to women.
Yeah. So, how did it start? So I originally started off a couple of years ago with a medical conference, and it was strictly just for medical professionals. And the first one we had about 60 medical professionals fly in from all over the world. It was actually quite like astonishing to hear their research and what they're finding about PCOS in whether it be their daily practice or whether it be their scientific research, whatnot. So that's how it started. And then it was like, as the years went on, they kept asking, well, we want to know how the patients feel, right? We want to know how other patients feel. And at the same time, in parallel with the medical conference, we were also hosting a kind of like brunch which we were calling Reveal the Teal, which was strictly for patients on the patient side. And it was more or less like a kumbaya, right? It was like, let's come together as patients, let's hold hands, let's tell our stories, let's share our trials, our tribulations, our triumphs, right? Like, let's just go through all that. And after hearing the medical side and then also the patient side saying, well, what's the medical professionals doing and what they're saying? It was like, I always wanted a conference that brought them both together. And, with like Comic-Con, what are the other cons? There's just a whole bunch of, other conferences that don that con name. And it was like, let's come up with PCOS Con. And let's just have it be an awesome conference that, has medical professionals, has patients, has all sorts of stuff, has exercise opportunities, has just normal networking fun like events. So it's a 3-day event. It starts off, it's like 2.5 days because normally it starts off on a Thursday with a happy hour. And that hour allows for medical professionals, patients, whatnot, to kind of come in and mingle with each other and, get to know, feel comfortable, right? Feel comfortable in the space. Then it starts off early the next day with like a workout session. So the first year we did this, it was, what did we do? We did yoga the first day. And then, had a breakfast, and then it just drove right into the conference, which has, whether it be presentations by medical professionals or, like you said, badass women that are also suffering from PCOS, or whether it be breakout sessions throughout the day that run parallel to each other. And then at the end of the night, let's see what happens the first night. Oh, the first night we had a 80s, 90s like dance party, right? Like literally you got dressed up in your 80s, 90s gear and we just got out on the dance floor and partied all night, right? But then after that, there's a late night session. And I actually personally like the late night session idea because it allows for that, those taboos that we don't talk about when it comes to PCOS, like whether it's your sex drive or, just anything intimate that you want to talk about. And we literally had like beanbag chairs. People sat out on the beanbag chairs. They came in their PJs, and it was like a panel of women trying to, make everybody feel comfortable about asking their questions. Then again, early the next morning, another workout session. So the first year we had actually Whitney Waythor from My Big Fat Fabulous Life. She came and she hosted a like a Zumba session that last morning. And then again, it went into a full day of different sessions. And then at the end of the night, we have a gala, which ties back in that Reveal the Teal brunch that we used to have. So the gala is now called Reveal the Teal. And we have like a speaker that comes to that is, we're really trying to do PCOS Con like in various locations. So our first event was here in DC. That's where I live now. And we had Darren Haynes from the news. He's a news broadcaster. He came and did the closing remarks for the event. And then again, dancing and food and, just having fun, just being relaxed, but getting that support and that information was very important to me. Unfortunately, of course, the pandemic happened. And so last year we decided, I'm sorry, I should have said PCOS Con happens every other year. But last year with the pandemic, we decided, let's go ahead and host a mini PCOS Con in between years, right? So that we can give some more support while everybody's virtual. So that ended up being a virtual. We had like over 200 people attend that virtually. So we were pretty excited about that one. So this year is supposed to be back in person, but still the pandemic. So we decided to host a 3-day version of PCOS Con via a really awesome platform that allows for vendors, speakers, sponsors, everything. It's like when you come into the platform, it looks like you are in person. It's pretty awesome. So I'm excited about that. And it takes place this year. It'll take place September 17th, 18th, and 19th. So that's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So up and coming, get your tickets now. Please, if you are looking for the standard ticket, go ahead and use code GIFT, and that'll get you 60% off of the ticket. So do that. So I'm just really excited about all of the speakers that we have this year. It's jam-packed, and we have gone from everything talking about PCOS and COVID to PCOS and menopause, PCOS and hair loss, hair removal. I like to specifically point out the different symptoms of PCOS because, as you know, like there's no cure all for all the symptoms. Like we're forced to kind of treat each symptom separately, unfortunately. And so that's something that I find useful for myself. So again, being selfish, finding that information is useful for myself. So I figured that, I can't be the only one looking for that information. So that's the way PCOS Con works.
Well, and you have a variety of speakers that are, authors, speakers, medical professionals, dietitians. Like it's such a wide variety of people who are presenting that it's great because then you can really kind of find what you need from whatever you're suffering from. If you have PCOS, like you said, it's not a one size fits all approach. So there are people with digestion issues, there are people with hair issues, there are people who have thyroid problems as well, like myself. So it's kind of this sort of, gravitate to the people that call you. And so I think that's great that you have all those different variety of speakers to help people during this conference in September. And PCOS month is September. So it obviously aligns nicely to the month that you have. We're so grateful that you are a part of that and that you have started that for women. What do you think? I know that you did do a foreword for a book, which is about someone who's newly diagnosed and you've been through your own journey. What do you think people or women who are sort of like, I don't know, what should I do? Where do I even start? What do you usually suggest to those women?
So they often come to us when they're just unsure, right? We often get the question or are posed the statement, I think I have PCOS, but my medical professional is denying it pretty much. And so at that point, I always state, get a new one. Get a new medical professional, because I'm a huge advocate for listening to your body. And if your body is telling you there's something wrong, there's something wrong. So get a second, get a third, get a fourth opinion if necessary. You have every right to do such. Remember that you are handing your money over to these people, so you are paying them for a service. And if you feel that service is not up to par, then you have every right to get a new professional. My mom always states, she's stated this since I was little, but she always states there's a reason why they call it practicing medicine, like, because you don't have all the answers, right? Nobody has all the answers, unfortunately. So that's first and foremost. Second, make sure that you are, you're treating it as a whole, right? You're not just going towards, oh, I'm going to take birth control pills because X, Y, and Z. I'm going to take metformin because of X, Y, and Z. We're also looking at this as a holistic approach, such as, mind, body, soul, spirit, whatever, right? I see a therapist. If you need a therapist, see a therapist. If you need a dietitian, see a dietitian. Like you need to treat everything as a, just go at it as a whole. That's one or two, sorry. That book that Tara Spencer put out that I wrote the foreword for, it's pretty awesome. It gives you some realistic, easy, recipes. I know how to cook. I don't like to cook. I only cook when it's necessary type thing. And these recipes are things that I can get into, right? It's not like I'm going to spend all day on this one recipe only for it to turn out like crap. And then I'm going to be so mad that, I just throw the book away type thing. Nope. These are very realistic recipes. I would definitely encourage you to take a look at the recipes in the book, see what she has to say. She actually has a couple of books out. I can't think of what the other names are at this point. But I can get that for you, Dr. Jen, and let you know what her other books are, but she's pretty good. I would also kind of recommend you taking a step back, right? Take a step back, journal, figure out where your mind is, because we are all at different stages. I myself, as I said, when I first was diagnosed, I literally wasn't told anything about PCOS. And it was like, oh, when you're trying to have babies, come back to me. And then that was it. But what if I don't want to have babies? Then what? What if, I keep trying to have babies and I can't? Then what? What if I actually have a friend who has PCOS, and I kid you not, every time she looks at a man, she gets pregnant. So like you just are at these different, we're all at these different points in our life. I really never did anything about like my weight until it was like, okay, now's the time, right? Don't let anybody tell you now. Now is the time. No, you get to decide when the time is. And I took a different approach than other people, right? Like, so wherever you are in your life and whatever approach that you take, that's completely up to you. One of the things that I love about PCOS Awareness Association is that we're open to giving you information about any and all things. Like, we're not that type of organization that's going to push you towards metformin, or we're not going to push you towards, birth control pills, or we're not going to push you towards losing the weight. Again, it's completely up to you where you are in your life. Yes, it's good. Let's be healthy, but let me tell you, I've been up and down, right? We've all been up and down in our journey, and it's just where you are in your mental state. So yes, take a step back, figure where you are and what your goals and what where you want to go, the path that you want to take. I think that really is the message that I would say to everybody.
Yeah, I in integrated medicine, with what I'm learning now and being part of that world, I love the concept of personalized medicine. That's kind of the way that I think things are going to go anyway, when we learn so much more about our genes and how my gut's different than your gut, and all these things are different, but it's such a personalized journey. And a lot of times when I'm in my coaching programs, I try to remind people this is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. This is a marathon. It's a long journey. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be things that you focus maybe on weight loss for a year, and the next time it's this. And it's a constant changing journey. So you have to just be open to it and know that it's going to be just something that changes with time, and that's okay. Like,
Yep.
it's okay. It's your own journey. You don't have to check in with anybody else.
Correct. And I think that we get stuck because we go to the doctor, and first thing they do is they want to put us on the scale, right? And then they're like, hey, you're obese. You need to lose some weight. So I think that we get stuck on that path because that's what our medical professional told us. But I love that, Dr. Jen. Like, I love that, it's very personal. A lot of women, body positivity, they don't mind. They don't have any, they don't see anything wrong with, their weight, that's beautiful. Like, I wish that I could wake up every morning and be like, I'm perfect just the way I am. So I commend that. I absolutely do. So yeah, it is very personal.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I do on my group coaching. Week 1, I'm like, put the scale in your closet. We're not doing any scales. We're not weighing ourselves for 8 straight weeks.
I love it.
It doesn't matter what the scale says. It matters how you feel in your clothes. It matters, what is your goal? For some women, it's not about losing weight. It's about looking more toned, or it's about fitting into something they want to fit into. It's not necessarily about like, I got to lose 30 pounds. And I do think it does drive me crazy when people check in the clinic and it's like weight right away. Because automatically, I mean, I'm not terribly overweight, but I don't like to stand on the scale. No women do. So it's not fun to have to do that. Like, start off your appointment right away and be like, oh, great, here we go. We're going to go into this. She's going to shut the door and start talking to me.
Yep. Shut the door and start. Have you ever thought about metformin? Or have you, what have you done this week to lose weight? And it's like, really, ma'am, please leave me alone.
Yeah, it's I often find when weight loss is the primary goal for women that I'm coaching, it's when we start diving deeper, it's not about weight loss. It's about something else. Maybe it's about changing the relationship with food. Maybe it's about emotional eating. Maybe it's about mother who's been too hard on them. But sometimes it's like not. It's rarely literally about weight loss. It's usually something else that we have to sort of talk about. And so I find that if we're sort of so, beamed in as physicians about like weight loss, we're missing so much more that would be so much more helpful for them long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's and I love that you do, and I've watched your I read through your website and checked out all the stuff the different speakers and the different stuff you have and the events. I see those monthly events, and it's great because it's for trying to help women at whatever stage they are and whatever journey they want to be on.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. I just don't like being, again, I think here's my only child syndrome coming out in me. I don't like being told what to do. That's it. That's just it right there.
I think that's a common thing for those people that found organizations. When you're the CEO and founder, you probably don't like to be told what to do.
No.
And it's great to represent an international audience too, because honestly, a lot of the stuff that I read for integrative medicine studies and stuff, it's really not from the United States, right? So it's great to have other people's approaches to health, especially other like Europe and all those places, because they oftentimes pay more attention to their diet than we do. And so in particular, when I'm working with women on nutrition choices, it's like, well, a lot of times in other countries, they walk to the grocery store, they go to the market. They're used to this sort of growing your own vegetables, the concept of going to get your own stuff. So it's great when you can actually bring those people to speak to women, because then they can kind of see like, oh yeah, it's pretty normal in other places.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. And so we actually have signed a contract with an organization in China. I'm so excited about this, like, right, because they want to duplicate PCOS Awareness Association in China. So yeah, I'm excited to see what that brings, because of course we don't have a lot of information from China, right? But I'm excited to see what that'll bring, the partnership. So more to come on that.
What is the most interesting, since you brought up the conference anyway, what is the most interesting speaker you had? Like, tell us something that you were like, whoa, I had no idea.
So I think actually that came from, the first back in the day conference when we were just the medical professionals, the very first one. I get the list of all of the medical professionals that are showing up, and I'm skimming through and I'm looking at, their bios and everything, and I come across this speaker that's actually a dentist. And I'm like, how does she sure she got the right conference? And she was coming from like Sweden. So I was a little nervous because it was like, I'm not sure if she has the right conference, but she showed up and she gave a presentation, and it was like I had a complete epiphany and aha, well, not even epiphany, an aha moment, right? Because it was crazy because the last, maybe prior to that, the last year and a half, I was literally back and forth to the dentist, and I had like a root canal, and then I had to have a crown, and it was just ridiculous. I'd never had so much teeth issues, right? Like, it was nuts. And she gave this presentation and she said PCOS can cause tooth decay. And I was like, what? Wait, what? And pretty much what it is, diabetes, insulin resistance causes so many different issues in your body. And one of the symptoms of diabetes is tooth decay, tooth rot. And so if PCOS is kind of, tricking your body into thinking you have have diabetes with the insulin resistance, then yeah, you can get tooth decay. And it was like, duh, like I am brushing and flossing properly. Like, it's not me. Well, it is me, but it's not anything that I'm doing daily. And that was like, I think that was the first time I really realized that the depths of what I was going through. And then on top of that, that every year after that, or since then, I should say, new symptoms come out. And I'm just like, it makes sense now, right? It all makes sense. That was one. And then two, I just have to mention Dr. Felice Gersh, because oh, if you get a chance, I don't know if you've had her on your podcast yet, but
She's actually a good friend of mine. We are having lunch in 2 weeks.
oh, tell her Megan says hello, because
Okay.
she's absolutely a doll, and the way that she puts things is amazing. So she attended our first PCOS Con, and she gave a presentation about being a warrior. And in that statement, she related, like, she went all the way back to, like, we're talking Stone Age, we're talking medieval times. We're talking, just, she went back and she related PCOS to us being the hunters, gatherers, warriors. I mean, when you think about it, like, women with PCOS have high testosterone levels. We are strong. We often, like, I don't know if you've heard this before, but we often get this question or this statement all the time that says something like, I'm afraid to lift weights because as soon as I start lifting weights, like, you just start, the muscles just start popping. And so, like, women want to keep their feminine side, so they don't want to lift the weights. So again, high testosterone levels. So like, we are literally, in history, we were the warriors. We were the ones that made the world. Like, we made the world. And then when it was time, when we were retired from doing all of that, then we became the child bearers, right? We were the ones that waited for that season. And then that also kind of relates to the studies out there that say that women with PCOS their fertility gets better with age. So that just, the wheels start turning, right? You just start thinking about it all. And that story that she told, that one hit home a lot, because then you also start thinking, I had heard through time, think about the first, like, documented woman with PCOS. She was the woman that was in, the circus. She was the bearded lady. She was made fun of for having a beard. Even that woman was, they said she was strong and whatnot. She was the bearded woman. That's us, right? So I just start thinking about things like that, and it's like, man, I've even done, as just as you said with the genes, I've even done, 23andMe or ancestry.com and tried to figure out like my history to see where in my history that that this could have come from, because nobody or in my immediate family has PCOS. But yeah, do your history, ladies, and try and figure out like where your warrior woman came from. I love it. I love Dr. Gersh. Like, she's amazing. She's just this like little firecracker of a spirit, right?
Yeah, that woman has endless energy for
I
it's,
know.
yeah, I know. I actually contacted her on Instagram and we became friends that way, and met a couple of times, and then we're just, since I moved to Southern California, she's 30 minutes away. So she's an integrated medicine doc as well. So we're
Yes.
just connecting and trying to figure out how to, she's been helping me a lot with connecting with people. And so I'm so glad you said that. But she is a firecracker. She must be, we'll indoctrinate her into a PCOS, like, even though she doesn't have it, I feel like she's part of one of us anyway.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And yeah, her integrative medicine clinic is, her husband works alongside with her. I just love it. Like, she's a little powerhouse firecracker. Yeah, I don't know where she gets that energy from either.
I know. I need a cup of coffee when I walk around with her. I guess that would be a good question to ask you too, is like, if you could change, and I've mentioned that, I'm hoping to change the face of medicine to be much more personalized, much more about spending time with patients and trying to look at the other factors. But where do you see medicine is lacking, or maybe you don't? I guess I shouldn't assume, but where do you see that as health professionals we can change or do things differently?
No, there's no assumption there. You are 100% correct. So absolutely, exactly what you said. That holistic approach, integrative medicine, being able to, I don't know about you, but your personal journey with PCOS, but I literally was shuffled through doctor to professionals, medical professionals, to over here to over there, and each and every one I had to bring my documents to, like, I wish I should have sat it here, but I literally have it's like this big, a stack of my medical documents that it's crazy. Whether I've moved from, Seattle to Virginia, I should not have to do that every time, right? I should be able to just go to a medical professional and they see me through and through. They personalize every portion of it. That is where I would love to see the whole PCOS system go. Not just PCOS, but anything, because I've heard that from other diagnoses like MS or
Endometriosis.
yeah, all of it, breast cancer. Like, I've heard that people have to go through that all the time, and it's just, why? We are in 2021. Like, where is that? I do love how now, if you are a part of a medical, system, they have like a website that you can go out to with an app, and it houses all of your documents. I do like that, but what I don't like is the simple fact that not everybody's on the same system. So I've got like 4 different apps on my phone for 4 different doctors, and it's just like, why don't you all talk to each other? I don't understand this. So, yeah, I would love that integrative medical approach would be wonderful for everybody, and ultimately just insurance, right? That's one of the resources that was the first resource that I actually went out to find for PCOS AA, was something that offered a free or low cost or sliding scale system. And that's how I found Needy Meds, which is a nonprofit organization themselves, but they house a system of like over 2,000 medical clinics across the US that you can go to any one of their medical clinics, and they are sliding scale, low cost or no cost, depending on, your needs. And they all talk to each other. And, when I first started, they housed our brochures in all of their clinics, because we definitely wanted to make sure that these medical professionals knew that if they had somebody that walked in with PCOS, here's an organization that can help you with support, and then here, let me help you also, type thing. So yeah, that's a big one, is that insurance thing gets us every time. We do a survey every other year. And in the survey, one of the questions is, do you have medical insurance? And you would be surprised that 70% of the women that we support do not have medical insurance. I can only imagine, because like when I told you that I, 21, 22, and I didn't have medical insurance, my OBGYN that actually diagnosed me with PCOS, she took me on as a test, patient. So she used me in all of her medical research papers, and she offered her service pretty much because of that for free. But I was getting the bill, but at the bottom of the bill, it'd be zero, and it was like thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't have that under my mattress, or in my freezer. So it's just, that's really tough. That's really tough and heartbreaking that women out here can't get the support and the services that they need.
Yeah, and you bring together resources for people who can then, look on websites or listen to podcasts or get all the information that they can, as much as they can, if to get there. But will you say the name of that organization again?
Yeah, Needy Meds, NEEDYMEDS, sorry, Needy Meds.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a link on our website, and we also offer through them, we offer a free prescription drug discount card. So I like any of the services that we offer, or resources that we offer on the website, like I've tested them myself, right? I don't put anything out there that I don't believe in myself. So when we first started and we teamed up with Needy Meds, I literally went to the doctor, got a prescription. I think at the time it was for metformin. And I went to the pharmacy, handed them the card, and they typed it all in, whatever. And they were like, here's your metformin. Bye. And I was like, I don't have to pay. They were like, no, you gave us the card. It's fine. It covered it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it does work. I've heard it works quite well with birth control, metformin. I've also heard that it can be used on some fertility treatments as well. And then also, a nice little note, it does work for dog or pet animal prescriptions as well. So, the four-legged friends, we got to think of them too.
Listen, it's all part of the emotional journey as well, right? I mean, decreasing anxiety for however way it happens. If it's
exactly,
it's your pet or yoga, it's all good.
I love it.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm always harping on in my coaching program too, is just trying to address all the other things, because so much of that it contributes to your health. And so if we can try to, make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, self-care and self-love is so important. And so trying to improve those, I mean, that's important.
It is. And so, yeah, with that being said, it was like maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, this is when it was pretty much just me running. I have a team now, so I love the team. Like I couldn't, so I work a day job, and yes, the team helps me keep things on track as well. So this was like Facebook Messenger, and I was getting messages late at night from a gal who was like at her, she had it with her PCOS. And the conversation started going very south fast. And she was talking about suicide. And like at that point, I'm in bed, I'm messaging back and forth with her. And then the second the word suicide popped up, I sat up in bed and was like, well, what can I do to help? What's going on? How can I help you? After about 5 minutes, she totally stopped conversation. And that scared the crap out of me. I was just like, my heart hit the floor. And so then, of course, I came rushing to my computer, and I'm looking up her, going back into the messenger, looking up her profile, digging deep, playing that, I'm a Scorpio, so I played complete Scorpio detective. And so, I'm detecting and whatnot, and I find out where she lives, and I call 911 to do,
welfare check.
A quality check on her. Yeah. And so I don't know what the outcome of that story was, but yeah, that scared me. And that made me realize that this is serious and that I need to find a resource to help us with that, because I am not a trained professional in that area at all. Like I probably failed miserably, but, I found an organization called Crisis Text Line, and we partner with them. And if you are in any sort of situation where you are feeling that way, you can text PCOS to 741-741, and they'll respond with a crisis therapist, and they will help you through the situation. That was a big one for me. That was like a huge win. I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to nope. Like what? I don't want to hear this. Like that was just heartbreaking to me. All heartbreaking. And again, like we're just here to help. So that's a big one. That's a big resource for us.
And to care. You care a lot, which is really what it's about, is caring for the person and knowing that you're there for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you did what you could do, which is amazing. Well, where do you see the future of this organization? We'll conclude and look into the future and see what your crystal ball says about where you want to go. If you could have pick anything.
That's a good question.
Maybe it's in-person events again. I don't know.
That would be absolutely nice, because that is one of the things that I like. If anything I do in my life, like, that is so touching to me. Just to be able to see people and hug, like I'm a hugger, right? Like to be able to hug people, and just feel that I feed off of that. I find that after an event, like I may be exhausted, or I may tell the team, nope, never doing that again. But literally 2 days later, I'll be like, so guess what I have in mind? And they're like, Megan, really? And I'm like, yes, we're doing this. So yeah, in-person events, more of them. I do want to find some more resources for specific symptoms that we're seeing a lot of. You're an excellent resource that I would love to have added to the website. So definitely get with Brianna about that, because we will add you to the website. And then also, I've started during this pandemic, it had me take kind of a step back, right? Like we realized that we definitely are an online organization, but how do we grow that? And so I've kind of created an umbrella. So there's PCOS Awareness Association is the header, but under PCOS Awareness Association, we have kind of some things that help with our mission. So our mission is that we want to provide advocacy. We want to provide support. We want to provide resources. We want to help with research of PCOS, and we also want to provide information. So under the umbrella of PCOSAA, we have started, it's called Shades of Teal. It's a network that anybody can join, and it gives you like full access to all of the things, right? Whether it's our paid events are now free for you, or whether it's, some projects, up and coming projects that we have coming that are now released to you first. Swag, like our lovely PCOS shirts, and the wristbands. There's just a whole list under our Shades of Teal network that anybody that joins has access to. So that's kind of on our support pillar. And then we recently started a PCOS directory, and that is open to all medical professionals to join for free. You can add your listing, and then on the front end, it's now searchable for anybody searching for a PCOS specialist in their area, or virtually, or however you do your service. that's free to use for anybody. What else have we started? Man of Teal. So Man of Teal was started by my father, who is like my other greatest advocate, right? So he attended a Reveal the Teal a couple of years ago. It was his first PCOS event. And after the event, he came to me and he was like, why don't more men know about this? And I was like, Dad, I've been trying to tell you, Mom has been trying to tell you, like, we have been trying to tell you for years now. And he was like, well, what can I do to help? And so at PCOS Con, actually, there's literally a session dedicated to just men to attend. And they literally, the first PCOS Con, it was cute because I peeked in on him a couple of times, but he led a whole discussion with a group of guys that just genuinely want to know how to help sisters, mothers, significant others, whatever, whomever they are in the PCOS sufferer's life, they just genuinely want to help. So that's a big one. And then there's, why do I feel like I'm forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting a pillar of our network here. I'm just taking a peek at the website.
Well, we need men as allies. I love it.
Yes. And then of course the last pillar of this network is PCOS Con, which is our largest event. And that just, I explained PCOS Con to you guys, and I just hope that anybody that wants to join, even if you can't afford, like, reach out to me. just let me know, because I want people to join. And with that being said, we often get the question of, like, where are our funds going? I do want to reiterate that nobody in PCOS AA gets paid. I do not collect a paycheck from PCOS Awareness Association. Nobody on the board does. None of our volunteers do. We are all literally volunteers. So any funds that we are, that we do ask for, events being paid for or anything like that, the funds literally filter right back into PCOS Awareness Association to help us, pay for things that, such as the events. Like, it's very interesting to me how people believe that just because it's a nonprofit that means that we don't need to pay for anything. Like, the nonprofit doesn't need to pay for anything. Unfortunately, that's not true. Like, we still need to pay for venues, we still need to pay for websites, we need to pay for anything, right? So yeah, all the funds just get filtered right back in. And do know that there are projects up and coming that we want to put out there for people, but we just need a little bit more extra funds to do such, right? So yes, please just understand that any funds that we do ask for, they are not going in my pockets or anybody else's pockets, for that matter.
Yeah, they're to reach more women.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for telling us your story and telling us all about what you do. It's amazing. And I mean, you're a true inspiration.
Oh, thanks.
Even to women without PCOS, just to, advocate for yourself is the hardest thing to do.
It can be. Yeah, it can be. But there's that tenacity that my team just tells me I always have. They literally, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, guess what we're doing? And they're like, no, Megan, no.
They're like, why can't she be the gatherer, not the hunter? We need her to go out and get the vegetables instead of hunting everybody down.
Right? They're like, don't you need a vacation? Isn't it a vacation time for you? And I'm like, no.
Said, not in COVID. I probably have another year.
I think I've driven them nuts more now than I was before, because I'm literally just thinking of things.
I think my husband would agree too. I think I'm driving him crazy too. Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to end the event and then we'll just chat afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.